The girl in the shadows. Sometimes the most extraordinary stories begin in the most ordinary places, like the back of a rusted bus in New Jersey, where a girl with nothing left to lose chased something the world forgot. Wonder. Her name was Alara, not Ella, not Lara. Alara, like the moon of Jupiter. A name too beautiful for a life too grim. The orphanage where she lived was sandwiched between a sewage plant and a scrapyard that whined with the ghosts of twisted metal. It was the kind of place even Google Maps had politely chosen to forget. The kids called it the Rust House. Fitting. Every inch of it reeked of iron, mildew, and the kind of sadness that sticks to your ribs. But Alara, she smelled like something different, something hopeful, like lemon soap and forgotten library books. She wasn't like the other kids. They clung to dreams of being adopted by smiling couples in shiny cars. Alara dreamed of escaping, of telling her own story, not living in someone else's chapter. What kept her going wasn't a teddy bear or a photo. It was a crumpled, hand-folded paper star. She didn't know who gave it to her. Maybe a relative, maybe a nurse, but on the inside, scribbled in faded blue ink, were the words, "You are not lost, you are waiting." The escape night she ran wasn't stormy or cinematic. There was no lightning bolt punctuating a dramatic leap from a window, no orchestral music swelling in the background. Just a quiet click as she unlocked the laundry room window. Wearing shoes that didn't fit and a hoodie that didn't belong to her, Alara slipped into the night. Her only belongings, a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in notebook paper, and that crumpled star. She didn't have a plan, just a feeling. She hitched rides with truckers and lied about where she was going. She walked railroad tracks like a movie heroine in her own mind. She slept in alleyways and once behind a fast food billboard, where the chicken sandwich looked more cared for than she ever had. And somewhere, a few days and several peanut butter sandwiches later, she ended up in a town called Haddon Hollow, New Jersey. And that's where she saw him. The man in the alley. Keanu Reeves was filming an indie movie in Haddon Hollow, a small-town flick about a retired hitman turned beekeeper. Because apparently, the universe likes its metaphors thick, the town had gone bananas over it. Coffee shops had Matrix macchiatos. A local diner renamed itself Neo's Nibbles. Everyone wanted a selfie. Everyone except Alara. She didn't even really know who he was. What she saw was a tall man standing silently in an alley, staring at a broken bicycle like it had just asked for his credit card number. There was something about the stillness of him, like he was listening to something only he could hear. No cameras, no glitter. Just a quiet guy in a denim jacket with shadows in his eyes. Alara felt her heartbeat double, and without knowing why, she followed him. The following at first, it was innocent, across the street, behind a lamppost, hiding behind a bush which, in retrospect, was more suspicious than subtle. She watched from windows, alleyways, and once from behind a golden retriever. The production crew barely noticed her. A grip gave her a granola bar. APA thought she was background talent. She said nothing. She didn't know why she was doing it, only that her feet moved every time he did. Was it curiosity? Fate? A malfunction in the matrix? Maybe she didn't need to know. The glitch. 3 days passed. Alara slept in an abandoned bookstore and brushed her teeth with bottled water and a complimentary toothbrush from a dentist's Halloween handout. She watched Keanu film scenes, laugh with locals, drink tea like he'd been sipping it since birth. But on the 4th day, something changed. He was sitting on a bench, chewing on a tuna sandwich like it had offended him personally. The sky above looked like it had forgotten to wake up. A dog barked at a mailbox somewhere. A car alarm sang the song of its people. And then, he turned, looked right at her. His eyes met hers. No alarm, no who is this creepy kid face. Just calm recognition, like he'd been expecting her. "You lost?" he asked. She didn't answer. Not because she didn't want to, but because deep in her heart she realized something surreal. He looked just as lost as she did. A silent companion. Some moments don't need an explanation. They just need to happen. Like thunder meeting silence, or a world-famous actor sharing a sandwich with a stranger. The first thing Alara noticed about Keanu Reeves after she stopped imagining he might arrest her for stalking was that he had kind eyes. Not the kind that sparkle, the kind that see things. He didn't freak out when he caught her watching him. He didn't call security. He didn't even stand up. He just scooted over a few inches on the bench and gestured to the empty space beside him. "You hungry?" To most people, those two words might have been ordinary. But to Alara, who hadn't heard a single voice directed at her in days, they hit like a lightning bolt. Dipped in peanut butter, she nodded. The tuna sandwich Trusesh sat. He offered the half of his sandwich he hadn't bitten into. She took it without speaking. Tuna wasn't her favorite. Then again, neither was being hungry. They sat in silence for a full 10 minutes. A full Keanu Reeves 10 minutes. That's at least 20 in regular human time. Then, without turning his head, he asked, "You running away or running toward something?" She blinked. Was this a trick question? A philosophical trap? A riddle left over from a Matrix sequel? Don't know, she mumbled, her voice creaky like a broken radio. Keanu nodded like that was the most reasonable answer he'd ever heard. The accidental friendship figured that would be the end of it. One weird, oddly magical moment. A half-sandwich memory. The kind of story you tell a therapist 20 years later, and they nod like it makes total sense. But it didn't end there. The next day, she came back, same bench, and he was there, this time with 2 sandwiches. He didn't ask her why she kept showing up. She didn't ask for his autograph. Instead, he taught her how to skip rocks across a pond. He told her about the time he broke a motorcycle stunt mid-filming and came out of it with just a chipped tooth and a better story. She didn't tell him much, but she laughed at his dumb jokes, and he smiled when she did. The crew gets nervous. Day 3 of Keanu and the girl. The film crew started noticing. There were whispers, side eyes, clipboard huddles. Boss, should we be worried about the hoodie kid shadowing Mr. Reeves? Keanu just waved them off. She's cool. Hollywood's full of people pretending to care. Alara knew the difference immediately. He wasn't pretending. He wasn't humoring her. He wasn't playing some dramatic part. He just was. For a girl who'd spent her life being told she was too much or not enough, Keanu's silence was the loudest kindness she'd ever received. The wordless deal. Be the 5th day. They had a rhythm. She'd show up. He'd already be there. They'd share lunch. He'd talk about books, dreams, motor oil, and how surprisingly hard it was to find a good blueberry muffin in New Jersey. Sometimes he'd read her a poem. He was deep into Rilke that week. Sometimes she'd draw pictures in the dirt. Then one day, he handed her a pen and a notepad from his hotel. "You don't have to talk if you don't want, but if you ever feel like writing something." She took it. No pressure, no expectation. She wrote one word, waiting. He didn't ask what it meant. He just nodded. The paper star comes out. That evening, after their ritual sandwich session, she took something out of her pocket. The star, crumpled, soft, sacred. She opened her hand like she was showing him her heart. Because maybe she was. He didn't unfold it. Didn't prod. He just looked and said, "That's beautiful." Then he reached into his own wallet and unfolded a faded slip of paper, yellowed and fragile. "You are the answer to someone's question," he read. "Been carrying that since '93. Came from a fortune cookie. I liked it too much to throw it away." They didn't know it yet, but those 2 pieces of paper, they were about to change both of their lives. And then came the camera. Lara didn't notice the first flash, but Keanu did. A photographer, crouched behind a car, halfway across the street, caught the moment, the quiet girl, the actor, the exchange of a paper star. It was innocent. But the internet doesn't do innocent. It does viral. By morning, hashtags would be trending, conspiracies would be swirling, fans would be theorizing, journalists would be hunting. The world was waking up, and Alara's quiet, safe little bubble was about to burst. The stranger who stayed. Not all storms come with thunder. Some arrive quietly, carried in camera flashes, whispered rumors, and the heavy footfall of the world catching up. When the photo went viral, Alara didn't even know what viral meant. She thought it had something to do with the flu. But the morning after the paparazzi snap, Keanu showed up to their usual bench with 2 things, a bag of muffins, and a different look in his eyes. "Wanna sit somewhere else today?" he asked, like he was offering her a parachute instead of breakfast. They relocated to an abandoned greenhouse behind an old train station. Nature had taken over. Ivy ruled. The walls, dust-most, danced like little secrets in the sunlight. "This okay?" he asked. Alara nodded. It was better than okay. It was invisible. The world starts watching. It took less than 12 hours for the internet to turn a moment of quiet humanity into the plot of a Netflix documentary no one had asked for. Keanu adopts street girl. Who's the mysterious hoodie child? Is Keanu secretly a time-traveling saint? Theories, memes, even a petition demanding he get a Nobel Peace Prize. Because why not? Meanwhile, Alara was still trying to open a muffin without launching. Crumbs into the stratosphere. Keanu stays calm. The internet does not. Keanu didn't tweet. He didn't livestream a rebuttal. He didn't hold a press conference surrounded by PR flunkies holding small dogs. He simply picked up the phone and told his manager, "Cancel my next interviews." Why? I have something more important. That something was currently licking blueberry off her thumb and sitting cross-legged in an overgrown greenhouse. The stranger who stayed Alara still hadn't told him her name, not once. But it didn't stop Keanu from sharing stories like they were old friends from parallel lifetimes. He talked about rejection, about crashing auditions, about feeling invisible even when everyone knew your name. And then one day, as golden light filled the space between them like a secret they shared, he asked gently, "Do you want to tell me your name?" She hesitated, long enough for butterflies to have existential crises. Then, in a voice rusty from disuse, she whispered, "Alara." He smiled. "That's a beautiful name. Sounds like a moon." "It is," she said. "Jupiter's." Of course he knew. Of course she knew he would know. Backlash and breadcrumbs. Back at the orphanage, the rust house, a dusty phone began to ring. Then ring again. Staff members flipped open tablets. Local news showed the photo. Alara had been found, suddenly. There were phone calls, legal letters, and one truly unfortunate podcast titled Keanu and the Kid. A local tabloid even offered a reward for information on the mystery girl. They misspelled both Keanu and girl. Classic. Then came the knock. Keanu's trailer door opened to reveal a woman with sensible shoes, a clipboard, and the expression of someone allergic to nuance. "Mr. Reeves," she said, "we need to speak with you about the minor seen in recent photographs with you." Alara was in the bathroom, listening with her ear pressed to the cold door. In her hand, the paper star. She was squeezing it so hard, it might have turned to dust. The moment that changed everything. Keanu didn't panic, didn't argue. He said, calmly, "She's not a publicity stunt. She's not a problem. She's a person. And I'm not letting her disappear again." The social worker blinked, like she'd just heard a poem instead of a legal defense. "You're not family. You have no legal authority." Keanu nodded. "Then help me get it." That's when Alara burst out of the bathroom, cheeks red and voice shaking. "You can't." "Why not?" Keanu asked, softly. "Because no one ever stays." But he didn't offer a grand speech. He didn't try to convince her with promises he might not be able to keep. He just stayed. And sometimes, that's everything. Lights, camera. Truth isn't always loud. Sometimes, it tiptoes in through the cracks right when the spotlight is at its brightest. There are two kinds of attention in the world. The kind that lifts you up, and the kind that burns holes straight through you. Alara was about to learn the difference. Because the world had questions. And questions, when asked loud enough, can sound a lot like accusations. The interview that wasn't supposed to happen. Keanu Reeves doesn't do interviews unless there's a very good reason. This time, he volunteered. No red carpet, no entourage, just one chair, one host, and the weight of the entire internet waiting to pounce. "I'm not her father," he said, before the host could ask. "But I'd like to be someone who doesn't walk away." Millions watched. Screenshots flew across social media like wildfire, dressed in kindness. Meanwhile, Alara watched it from a bakery backroom, hands wrapped around a mug of cocoa like it might evaporate if she blinked. She didn't understand why someone would fight to stay. Until now, no one ever had. The orphanage fights back. Rust House sensing PR disaster released a statement. A polished, lawyer-approved mix of passive voice and bureaucratic dodgeball. "We were unaware of her absence due to administrative oversight." Translation: "We didn't notice she was gone. Our bad. Please don't sue." They called her difficult, labeled her detached, withdrawn, and a habitual runaway. They used her silence like a blade. Alara read the article, placed it under her cocoa, and went quiet. Not because she didn't care, but because it hurt exactly how she expected it to. The story behind the star canoe never pushed. But silence grows heavier the longer it sits in a room. So one evening, under the dustlit glass of the greenhouse they now jokingly called the secret garden, he said, "When you're ready to tell your story, I'll be here to listen." She didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, she reached into her hoodie and pulled out the folded paper star. She smoothed it out, carefully, reverently, like opening a memory you forgot was yours. The writing still read, "You are not lost. You are waiting." She looked up, eyes glassy and voice just above a whisper. "I think I was left at a bus station." The flashback, it wasn't a flood. It was a drip, a woman's voice, soft, nervous, rushed, a bench, cold metal under her legs. A paper star slipped into her hand. "I'll be right back." The woman had said. She never came back. What followed was a patchwork of foster homes, half names, broken files, and labels that stuck like duct tape, defiant, quiet, uncooperative, and in the middle of all of it, Alara, folding and unfolding a paper star like it held directions home. Keanu didn't try to rescue her. He just listened. And when she said, "You don't have to stay," he replied, "That's the only thing I have to do." The internet does its thing. You know what happens when someone on the internet has just enough information and way too much time. They become an army. A woman in Michigan, a retired social worker, a photo she'd never forgotten, a missing persons flyer from 2012, a girl with dark eyes, paper star in her hand, a name, Alara Wren. She wasn't a runaway. She was missing. Everything shifts. News broke like thunder through a silent chapel. Tabloids, networks, BuzzFeed lists. Even Reddit got weirdly wholesome about it. Keanu was filming a scene when a frantic assistant ran up holding a tablet like it was radioactive. He read the headline, then whispered, "Alara needs to see this." The choice. There comes a moment when standing still hurts more than moving forward, even when you don't know where the road leads. The world now knew her name, but that didn't mean they knew her story. They had headlines, sound bites, a viral photo with Keanu Reeves and a muffin. But none of that told them what it was like to live as a ghost in a house full of forgotten children. To Alara, the truth wasn't liberating. It was terrifying. Because now, she had to choose. The phone. Keanu handed her the phone like it was an ancient artifact. Something sacred, dangerous. "They found someone," he said. "They think she might be your mom." Alara stared at the screen like it might bite her. Her heart didn't race. It stalled. "What if she didn't lose me?" she whispered. "What if she left me on purpose?" Keanu didn't rush to comfort. He just sat with the ache. The woman behind the star, her name was Sophia Wren, former waitress. Moved towns like most people. Changed light bulbs. No charges, no trail. Just vanished. One file note read, "Told social worker she was drowning. Didn't want to drag the girl under with her." Alara didn't understand what that meant. Not really. But it sounded like something she'd thought before. The meeting was arranged. Quiet. Off-grid. No cameras. Just 3 chairs and 2 lifetimes between them. "Want me there?" Keanu asked. Alara nodded like it was oxygen. The reunion woman who walked in wasn't the monster Alara had braced for. She looked like a shadow that had been trying to step back into the light. She was holding Daisy's awkward, trembling. "Hi," she said, like someone introducing themselves at a stranger's wedding. Alara didn't flinch. "You gave me a star," she said. Sophia blinked fast. "I didn't know if it would be enough." "It wasn't," Alara said flatly. "But I kept it anyway." They talked, mostly Sophia. Some pauses, a few sobs, but no shouting, no forgiveness, just a space. And at the end of it, Alara didn't say yes or no. She said something no one expected. "I need more time." The choice no one could make for her back in the greenhouse. Keanu was whittling something that may or may not have been a bird or a whale. It didn't matter. Alara sat beside him, arms wrapped around knees. "She wants to be in my life," she said. "And you want her in yours?" He asked. "I want her. That's the closest I can get right now." That's close enough, Keanu said. Not missing a beat. Is that allowed? Everything real is. The off-Earth state gave her options: reunification, visitation, therapy. But there was another path. At her age, she could petition for guardianship, her choice. She could ask the court to let her stay with someone who had never left. Someone who showed up with sandwiches and stayed through silence. Someone who asked for nothing in return. The paper and the star never asked her, never hinted, never pushed. But one morning, she sat beside him and handed him something. Not the paper star, a form. "Would you sign it?" she asked, her voice wrapped in trembling hope. He read it, word by word, carefully, then looked at her. "Only if you really want me to." She didn't blink. "I do. For now, no," she said, eyes steady. "For always." The paper star rises. Some endings don't close doors. They open skies. Years passed. Not in a glossy montage, in real time, with missed buses, burnt toast, laughter that turned into crying and crying that turned into laughter, with movie nights and silent breakfasts, with therapy, with healing. Alara Wren didn't vanish. She didn't become a headline or an echo. She became herself, quietly, fiercely, fully. The adoption, it wasn't some red carpet Disney finale. It was a worn courtroom with flickering lights and a clock that ticked too loud. But Alara had her paper, star in her pocket, still crumpled, still sacred. When the judge asked if she was sure, she didn't look uncertain. She looked at Keanu sitting awkwardly in a suit, a motorcycle key sticking out of his pocket, and said, "Yes, for always." The shift: Keanu never once tried to replace anyone. He was never her hero. He was just her person. The one who stayed. The one who made bad pancakes on purpose because she said she liked them crispy. The one who bought the old greenhouse and fixed it up with fairy lights, blank canvases, and books with cracked spines. It became their place to breathe, to create, to just be. The Project B-19. Alara had a camera in her hand. By 20. She had a story. By 21. She had her story. A short film, she told Keanu, about a girl who thinks she's invisible until the universe sends her a stranger, a man with kind eyes and a paper star. He sipped his coffee. Terrible pitch. No explosions. She smirked. "Wanna be in it?" He raised an eyebrow. "Only if I get to do my own stunts." The premiere night wasn't Cannes. It wasn't Sundance. It was a local film fest with folding chairs and lukewarm box wine. And yet when the lights went down, the room disappeared. People laughed. People cried. Someone actually gasped when the character whispered, "You don't have to stay." And when the credits rolled, and written and directed by Alara Wren, lit up the screen, everyone stood. Keanu had already been standing. The legacy: it wasn't the awards, or the distribution deal, or even the film schools that added it to their syllabi. It was the messages. From kids, from grown-ups, from people who had waited their whole lives for someone to say, "You are not lost, you are waiting." The last scene: years later, Alara sat outside a bookstore. She saw a girl, alone, sitting the way she used, 2 shoulders up, heart down. She walked over, reached into her bag, and handed the girl a folded paper star. "What's this?" the girl asked. Alara smiled. "A reminder." "Of what?" "That you're not lost." "The end."